For 5 long years, Ranger waited. Through blistering summers, freezing winters, and pounding rainstorms, he sat in the same spot, right beside the rusted old diner on the outskirts of town. His once glossy coat was now dull and dusty, his ribs faintly visible beneath his thick fur. But it wasn't hunger that kept him there. It wasn't fear either. It was something deeper, something unshakable. Ranger was waiting for someone who had never come back. The people in town noticed him, of course. They left out food and water. Some even tried to take him home. But Ranger never left. If anyone got too close, he would stand, take a few cautious steps away, and sit back down, always watching the road, a ghost of the past, a mystery no one could solve. Then on a crisp autumn morning, everything changed. A stranger arrived in town, a journalist named Ethan Grant, 34, sharp-eyed, and always chasing the next big story. But he wasn't looking for a story that day, not at first. He just happened to notice Ranger sitting so still, staring down the road. Something about Ranger's unwavering patience sent a chill down his spine. Who was Ranger waiting for? And why? The townspeople tried their best. Every day, someone would leave a bowl of food near the old gas pump, and by morning it was always empty. Some tried to approach him with soft voices, outstretched hands, and even new blankets in the winter. But Ranger never let them get too close. If they advanced, he would back away. If they lingered, he would turn away. It wasn't fear. It wasn't suspicion. It was something else entirely, something deeper. Martha Reynolds, the town's only diner owner with eyes to see, had been watching Ranger from the start. Every morning before the sun was fully up, she would drive by, slowing just enough to check on him. That poor thing, she would mumble to herself, still waiting. And he waited. No matter the weather, no matter the time of day, Ranger would sit there, eyes on the road ahead, watching, hope. But for what? Or for whom? The mystery clung to him like a shadow, and no one could bear to force him to leave. Whatever had kept Ranger waiting for 5 years was more than just habit. It was a promise no one else could understand. Ethan Grant wasn't planning to stop. He had driven through this small town countless times, always heading somewhere bigger, somewhere more important. But today felt different. As he slowed to refuel at the old gas station, his gaze drifted to the German Shepherd sitting by the rusted pumps. The dog didn't flinch, didn't move. He just sat there, eyes locked on the road ahead, as if waiting for something or someone that would never come. Ethan cut the engine, watching. Something about the dog's stillness sent a shiver down his spine. It wasn't just patience, it was devotion. His reporter's instinct kicked in. He had covered stories of resilience before. Survivors, lost pets reunited with owners, even people who had disappeared for years. But this was different. This was a dog who had chosen to stay, who had refused every hand that had tried to save him. Curiosity burned in his chest. Who was Ranger waiting for? And why? Ethan grabbed his camera, stepping out into the crisp autumn air. The moment felt heavy, charged with something unspoken. Whatever story lay behind those tired, faithful eyes, he was going to find it. 4 years ago, Ranger had a home. He wasn't a stray. He wasn't lost. He was loved. His days were filled with laughter, warm hands scratching behind his ears, and the boundless energy of a boy who adored him. Jesse Taylor, just 11 years old at the time, had been Ranger's entire world. From the moment his parents brought home the tiny German Shepherd puppy, the two had been inseparable. Jesse would wake up early just to be the first to greet Ranger. The dog slept at the foot of his bed, followed him to the kitchen every morning, and waited eagerly by the door every afternoon when Jesse got home from school. His mother, Claire Taylor, often said, "I don't know who loves who more, you or him." His father, David, wasn't a man of many words, but whenever he got home from work, he always knelt down, rubbed Ranger's ears, and whispered, "Good boy, always looking out for your family." And Ranger was. He wasn't just a pet, he was part of them. Until the night everything changed, until the headlights came too fast, until the world shattered and Ranger was left behind. The storm rolled in fast. The wind howled through the trees, bending branches until they groaned under the pressure. Rain lashed against the windshield, turning the road into a slick, treacherous blur. Jesse sat in the back seat, his hand buried in Ranger's thick fur, finding comfort in the steady warmth of his best friend. His parents were in the front, voices tense, eyes locked on the dark road ahead. Then, headlights. Too close, too fast. The impact came like thunder, metal screeching as the car spun out of control. Glass shattered. The world flipped. Jesse's scream was swallowed by the chaos. Then silence. When Ranger came to, everything was wrong. The acrid scent of smoke burned his nose. His ears rang. Somewhere in the distance, voices shouted, urgent, desperate. Sirens wailed. He staggered to his feet, disoriented. The car lay on its side, crushed metal glinting under the rain. Strangers were pulling Jesse out, carrying him away. Ranger barked, trying to follow, but rough hands grabbed him, held him back. Panic surged through him. He twisted, yanked, tore free, and ran. Into the storm, into the unknown. Searching for the boy who was already gone, Ranger ran. Through the blinding rain, through the chaos of flashing lights and shouting voices, he ran. His paws pounded against the wet pavement. His breath came in sharp, ragged gasps. But he didn't stop. He couldn't. He had seen them take Jesse. He had watched helplessly as strangers carried the boy away, disappearing into the night. Nothing else mattered. Not the sirens, not the pain pulsing through his body, not the rain soaking his fur. He had to find him, but the world had changed. The road stretched endlessly, unfamiliar and empty. The scent of home, of Jesse, of everything he had ever known. Gone. Panic clawed at his chest. He sniffed the air desperately, turning in circles, trying to piece together what had happened. The storm swallowed the last of the voices, leaving only the howling wind. Ranger whimpered, his ears flicking in every direction, but there was no answer. He wandered for days, hungry, lost, searching, until at last he found it. A quiet stretch of highway, an old gas station, close to the accident site. It wasn't home, but it was close enough. And so, Ranger waited, and waited, and waited. Noah sat in his car, staring at his laptop screen, his pulse quickening with every word. He had spent the past few hours scouring old reports, digging through lost pet records, trying to piece together the story of the dog who never left. And now the answer was staring right at him. A missing dog report, filed exactly 5 years ago. The name, Ranger. The location, a highway just outside of town. The details, lost after a tragic accident. Noah exhaled sharply, his chest tightening. The accident site was barely a mile from where Ranger had been waiting all this time. This wasn't just a stray. This wasn't just a mystery. This was a dog who had never stopped believing. His family thought he was gone. They had grieved, moved on. But Ranger had never given up. Noah's fingers hovered over the keyboard, his mind racing. He needed to find them. He needed to tell them. But would they believe it? His hands trembled as he hit post. uploading Ranger's story to social media. This dog has been waiting in the same spot for 5 years. Can we find his family? And then he waited. Noah didn't have to wait long. Within an hour, the post had gone viral. Thousands of shares, comments pouring in. People across the country were heartbroken by Ranger's loyalty, moved by his unwavering faith. Please tell me he gets his happy ending. Someone find his family. This is why dogs are better than people. Then a single message changed everything. I know this dog. Hundreds of miles away, Jesse Taylor, now 16, sat frozen, staring at his phone. His hands shook as he clicked on the video. 5 years. 5 years of believing Ranger was gone forever. Yet here he was, waiting. Still. Jesse's breath hitched. He never gave up on me. His mother gasped when she saw the post, covering her mouth. Oh my God, he's alive. That night, Noah's inbox was flooded, but one message mattered most. That's my dog. Please tell me he's still there. Noah exhaled, his chest tightening. He typed 4 words. He never left. Come. Somewhere out there, another dog is still waiting. Maybe in a shelter. Maybe by the side of the road. Maybe for you. If you had one chance to reunite with something you lost, would you take it?